Howdy, my name is Vashlos, and today I would like to talk to you quickly about the character I chose to play for Path of Exiles Challenge League 3.23 Affliction. First and foremost, I would like to give credit where credit is due, and that's the two content creators, that's Steelmage and Goratha. They are who I look to the most when picking and choosing what I wanted to include in my version for this build. So I hope that you will go and like, comment, and subscribe all of the relevant videos that pertain to the discussion we're about to have. And I will also leave the content that I digested from their channels in the description below, as I would love for you to know where some of my decision or some of my ideas come from. Other than that, let's get going, shall we? I'd also like to apologize to you because this video is coming out so late. This character was finished a long time ago, maybe over a month at this point, and I've just been enjoying some other games. There was some drama that came out. I don't really want to go too deep into that, as GGG kind of already addressed it, as well as Power World is a ton of fun. Enshrouded is a ton of fun. World of Warcraft Season of Discovery is a ton of fun. Old School RuneScape is a ton of fun. There's just so much to play. So don't think that I'm only a Path of Exile content creator, but I do love Path of Exile, and that's what we're about to talk about. So let's get going. First, the passive tree. I'm going to go over what I think is different. If I miss anything, you can tell me in the comments. You do want a Thread of Hope, just like the other versions. This is so that you can save an astronomical amount of passive points. You don't have to path to this one. You don't have to path to One with Nature. You don't have to path to Perfectionist or Multi-Shot or Master Fletcher or Piercing Shots or Primeval Forts. That's a lot of passive points that you just saved. Something else that I do differently. Nearby enemies have 50% reduced life regeneration rate on top of Soul of Rislatha. With the empowerment, enemies you've hit recently have 50% reduced life regeneration rate. That's 100% reduced life regeneration rate. We are a damage over time skill. They no longer have any way to regenerate that damage or that life back. Super powerful. You don't need to pump your damage to the moon when they can't regenerate life back. We also use a Lethal Pride so that we can reach the strength necessary to equip our Sinvicta's Medal. We use Sinvicta's Medal to engage with Rampage. Rampage is a really nice mechanic for us, and it's honestly a lot of fun too. So Lethal Pride alone will not be enough to hit that threshold to equip it. You'll need 20 strength on two notables. For me, that landed on Ballistics and Charisma. There are also additional modifiers that you can gain from Lethal Pride, which are pretty nice, such as physical damage taken as elemental and maximum life. So don't sleep on Lethal Pride, as you may not even have to worry about strength if you want to use something like Molten Shell. What else? We use more mana reservation efficiency. The reason why is because we include Malevolence. Why do we include Malevolence? We include Malevolence because unaffected by poison, and then the golden rule. All of a sudden we have 71% chaos resistance with only 4% chaos resistance invested in a passive point or anywhere on our gear. So don't sleep on that combination. I got really lucky though. We had a Corrupted Blood immunity and a physical taken as elemental while affected by Purity of Elements pop up for 25 Divine Orbs when we were playing. So that cost us next to nothing compared to how powerful it is. And what else is different? We use Broadside so that we don't have to path over towards another Bow Mastery for the increased area of effect. I'm not really sure how necessary that one is, but I saw that Steelmage had chosen that mastery and decided that I needed it as well. Devastator is a source of explode we are hitting an awful lot of the time, so it's nice to have some source of explodey. Witchbane is our source of intelligence beyond our passive points, and you will need 14 intelligence in order to use your item rarity support. You don't want intelligence on your gear anywhere, I promise you. So just if you even decide not to use a Witchbane, just make sure the jewel you replace it with has 14 intelligence so that you can actually use a maximum level increased item rarity support, as it requires 111 intelligence. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. I think that about does it for the passive skills. Oh yeah, mana reservation efficiency extended, continued, I guess. You need 5% beyond charisma, and this 12% mana reservation efficiency, and that's on your passive tree, right? So you need 2% as an implicit or an additional jewel suffix, and then you also need 3%. Right, so 5% in total. in addition to what I mentioned before. And the reason for that is also the Malevolence. With 3 auras, Purity of Elements, Grace, and Malevolence, you're pretty tight on mana. So you'll also pair it with a helmet that increases your mana reservation efficiency, reduce mana cost of attacks. The other modifiers on this helmet are incredibly important. This is not an optimal helmet. There is, a way to get more rarity, but everything else on this helmet is completely indispensable. You would need to create it 1 for 1. Any unique pair of gloves with Despair on hit will work, but I chose RCs since I'm level 100, and I no longer care about Chaos Resistance or dying. And I'm a softcore player, so yeah, give me more rarity. It also helps solve those resistances. I don't know if I just doubled up on saying that, but I'm saying it again. It solves resistances, okay? Venter's Gambles. You want as much life. You want 10% quantity no matter what. Seriously, do not sacrifice that stat. It can be the worst ring possible as long as it has 10% increased item quantity. I don't care. And in order to circumvent our need to take Ralakesh, moving while bleeding doesn't cause you to take extra damage. Bleeding cannot be inflicted is a very useful implicit. If you want to be even safer, let me go and find it real quick, if it's even still here. I might not have it in that tab anymore, but basically, yeah, there it is. You can get yourself a Kikuzaru, and then this will help your mana reservation rate, but as you can see, it doesn't have 14 to all attributes. The attributes would allow you to get rid of your Witchbane, and it also gives you reduced curse effect, as well as a ton of life regeneration rate. So all of those things feel incredible for our build, and it's also cheaply corruptible so that you can solve the resistances. You can also get the bleeding immunity as well from it. So you're either using 2 Venters or you're using a Kikuzaru, in my opinion. The Micro Distillery Belt, super powerful. I have tried this build with both a Mage Blood and without a Mage Blood, and I gotta say, I prefer it without a Mage Blood because Micro Distillery is just so dang good. I mean, 30% increased effective flasks besides the one in the 5th slot, and then when paired with the new Ascendancy of Tinctures, it's even more powerful by another 30%. So, well, the one that's right next to the Tincture anyways. And I'm going to talk real quickly about my Wildwood Ascendancy at this time as well. You may see that I don't choose almost any notables, and the reason for that is that 10% increased quantity of Vivid Wisps. 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 60% increased quantity of Vivid Wisps found in the Wildwood. So we just want as many of those as we can possibly find since we are a magic finding character. And let's go over the rest of our items instead of digressing back into the passive tree. We already talked about Sinvicta's Metal and why we use that. We already talked about the helmet. We talked about the rings. We talked about the glove slot. We talked about the belt. The boots are obvious, gold worms, but you want the spell suppression chance so that you can cap out. Defiance of Destiny, indispensable. It's really difficult to state how powerful this amulet is because of that bottom modifier of gain percentage of missing life, or sorry, of missing unreserved life before being hit by an enemy. This is a titanic amulet. You will feel like a god when you put this thing on. You are seriously beefy as soon as you throw it on. Get the best one you can possibly find. And let's talk about the bow and quiver. I chose a Solarine bow. The reason why I chose a Solarine bow is because none other than I think it's cool. Wow, go figure. If I wanted my numbers in Path of Exile to look more aesthetically pleasing, I could go with a higher attack speed base. Because the Path of Building assumes that you're constantly attacking. But I chose to go with the highest DPS base via elemental damage, since the tinctures allow us to damage with poison through all sources of damage, not just physical or chaos. And the other flavor reason as to why I chose a Solarine bow is that no Solarine bow existed with a fractured +2 additional projectiles. So it was another reason, right? It took us 2 fracturing orbs. The first one was a YOLO, and then the second one was a Hinakora's that for some reason decided it liked us, and we got the +2 rather easily and crafted it from there. The quiver, the only stat you really care about is the dot multi and the accuracy rating from the implicit. You you really do need that accuracy from somewhere because we're sacrificing it in other places. So make sure you get yourself a 2-point arrow quiver base. I think that covers the items. We talked about the passive tree, and now let's talk about the skills, shall we? So I'm a Manaforged Magic Finder. I use Scourge Arrow of the Menace as my main skill. I support it with elemental damage with attacks, unbound ailments, vicious projectiles, deadly ailments, greater multiple projectiles. And then the Manaforged links are Scourge Arrow of the Menace, Caustic Arrow of Poison, Tornado Shot, Life Tap, unbound ailments. The other Manaforged links are Storm Rain of the Conduit, Lightning Arrow, Life Tap, Manaforged, Frenzy of Onslaught, Manaforged of Arrows, excuse me, thought I was going to sneeze, Culling Strike, and then item rarity support. The auras, again, are Purity of Elements, Malevolence, Grace, and then your movement skill is Flame Dash. So that's all our skills. And I would like to make a brief note on Pierce. So you don't really need Pierce with the way that I've set this up. We're going to go to a quick example out in the Vistiri Desert. And the reason why you don't need Pierce is, one, Scourge Arrow of the Menace has Pierce built in. And then Caustic Arrow of the Poison has a specific projectile behavior, as does Tornado Shot. And then Storm Rain of the Conduit does not care about Pierce. And then Lightning Arrow would be swapped out for Lightning Arrow of Electrocution, so that the arrows will stick in the target now that you don't have Pierce with what I'm about to show you. And what I'm about to show you, sorry for talking so much, is that all the projectiles will stack on top of each other in a massive shotgun. So you can kind of increase your DPS that way. Not that those were beefy monsters, right? It's not that I'm going to sit here and say that an Act 9 showcase is a display of damage, but, you know, you don't need Pierce if you don't feel like you need it with what I've done. I have an example map set up for us. We're going to go with Abyss. We have Reliquary Scarab. We have Harbinger Scarab, Breach Scarab, Abyss Scarab, and then we have a 6 modifier map with 20% Delirious. It's uncorrupted because I don't feel like reinvesting if it does corrupt off the modifiers that I want. It's kind of poorly rolled. 104% really isn't that scary. But we have some sextants as well. Right, 25% increased pack size, more packs, and then more packs. It's not the best, but it's what we got. Don't think there's anything else that I'm forgetting. Abyss. Let's send it. We're just going to do an example, shall we? Oh, wait. I need to talk to you about my Atlas tree. So, Wandering Path, obviously. You want all the quantity. You don't have to go Ghostbuster, but I think it's kind of fun to play around with. And from there, it's really just kind of whatever you think that you can clear or whatever you think is fun. I've gone back and forth on Breach, but this is what it looks like for me right now. I just wanted to show you before we went in. Okay. I may not be too talkative, but may even die. I don't know how this is going to go, but we got to go into the Wildwood first. Collect all those juicy wisps. It's probably going to be pretty laggy, because I haven't logged in a little while. But hopefully we get a juicy one. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. I forgot that I took a screenshot. I took a screenshot for the thumbnail. And I'm in 1980 by 1080, or 1920 by 1080. So that's why I was lagging so much. Let's get back to playing the game, shall we? I'm not going to min-max, but I will grab as many wisps as I can find. And 5,000 life, I would say, is like the upper echelon of life that you're going to reach for this build. You do need rather high modifiers to attain that. Oh, he's consecrated ground. He shouldn't be regenerating life though. Maybe he's just really beefy. He's dying. Neat. Very neat. Where are the wisps at? Give me some more wisps. Oh, hey, it's a boss. And you can face tank almost anything. You can also face tank King of the Mists. There's really only Ubers to be scared of, I would say. And I don't think this is an uber viable build either. You'd probably want to make something separate to achieve that content. This is a mapper, and this is a magic finder. This is a good bosser, but I wouldn't say an uber bosser. Okay. So pretty terrible wisps in all honesty. Wish I got a little bit more, but I don't know. Maybe it'll still be an okay showcase for you. Monka. And we're just gonna clear the map together. A little different than my usual videos, but no well. Oh yeah, and let me show you the Rampage, I guess. And that's how easy it is to get Rampage, even in like a juiced map.
Hail.
And we're walking past the mechanics so that we can do them after all of the altars have spawned. Let me open up mods. So people don't think I'm being a big ol' phony. Now there are still some things that are kind of scary in terms of modifiers for us. Executioner, that will make it so that you can't go above 50% of your life and you'll feel like you're dying. So just be aware that that can happen. What else? Mana Siphoner, still a little scary because if it like, you know, 4D chesses you and positions right on top of you, even if you're like moving. Say like it goes on like like a Vol Snake or whatever they're called. I've definitely had those things like position on me perfectly to where I'm not getting my mana back anymore. I'm locked in place and you know it's just not happening. Even with stun immunity and phasing and stuff like that, it's like sometimes you really can just get screwed by the game. But yeah, wish I could have gotten some more wisps for you guys. Owie. But yeah, just remember if you really want to be super safe with your life amount, you can always just throw in a Kikuzaru, and then you have something stronger than a Vitality level 20. But otherwise, that life gain on hit cluster is really what carries our survivability. $200 life on hit is pretty crazy to think about with how many projectiles we're spewing out. Okay. And then, oh, an altar. Showed up after we left. Quantity! We love quantity. That's that good stuff, chat. Alright, so chances are I'm not going to be able to kill everything inside the breaches, specifically because of how fast the monsters come out sometimes, but it's pretty good, especially if you need like experience or just more blue monsters, more density, more rare monsters, just depends on how much damage you have. It's also pretty good for showcases. Yeah, for me specifically, they don't really work that well because the monsters aren't permanent. I don't have like a huge burst profile. So maybe if you were like a Fulcrum, Yodi Gang enjoyer, then you'd be able to blow them up near instantly because of, you know, the way Chieftain works. But for us, Breach isn't really as good. But we can survive it. We can survive it, no problem. There's the Spire. Now we just kind of anchor down. We're going to kill it. Does this map have chance to avoid poison, maybe? Or is it the accuracy? Oh, lightning clones. That's not very fun. Welcome to the build! This is kind of what I did for the whole season. I just sat in maps and had an absolute blast blowing up abyssal spires and, you know, trudging my way towards level 100. We got 38 out of 40 with the help of some friends because there are some Uber achievements in there. Like I said, this isn't really an Uber bosser. And this is one of the most fun seasons I think I've ever played. So bravo to GGG. Bravo. Let me read these modifiers real quick. Oh, maybe it's the proximity shield screwing me. There's two of them. Yeah, it could be the proximity shields are screwing me. Scary! Chaos and Wither resistant. That's not fun. Aberrath touched. Just gonna get all the loot out of the way. I'm done with the season anyways. And you saw me flame dash away from those chaos orbs. While we do have possibility for high chaos resistance, doesn't mean we still want to take damage that is chaos because of the way poison stacks work and how fast they fall off. So when we have a lot of targets, we're very, very tanky. The fewer targets we have, the dicier chaos resistance becomes. We can cap 100 stacks on a single target, but whenever that target is phasing in and out of being targetable, it gets a little, you know, it's a little hairy. Let's do the next one. Lightning mirages again. I think I'm just going to anchor and try and kill him. I might not be able to complete this one because I'm not doing as much damage to one of the rares as I should. Yeah, I failed it. So you can fail sometimes. You can fail. And it just depends on what kind of modifiers you're going up against. I've failed because of a specific monster spawning, such as there's one that like spawns additional monsters and that uses them as like a distraction. I've definitely had so many things going on my screen, it's like I don't even know what I'm paying attention to, and oh, the rare that I needed to kill in order to progress the Stygian Spire just kept eluding me and not taking enough damage so that it didn't die in time. I have had my Stygian Spires just disappear because there's too many things on screen, such as if Alva spawns in, that can really create the perfect conditions for your abysses to just vanish. I've failed abysses before because too many chaos and wither resistant monsters spawn, as well as like they have other modifiers that make them even tankier, such as like cycling damage reduction. So it's like you can really get unlucky. Don't feel too bad about it. The investment is kind of steep in these maps, but you also don't have to invest as much as you've seen me invest in this map right now. For a while, I was just doing Wandering Path and magic finding, and I was still finding an exorbitant amount of loot. So I hope you will experiment around with whatever build it is that you're playing, as there is just a ton of good stuff this season. Okay, Spire's down. Actually a good thing that we failed at least one Spire so that I could talk about those things. And you can definitely still die in your maps. I hope you don't get the impression that I'm completely immortal. While we are very, very tanky, we can get off-screened. Say if like a monster has a ton of additional crit multi via the Viridian and Vilewood modifiers, and we don't poison them in time, they can just like off-screen you. Because I mean, something with like a, like 600 crit multi is pretty scary if it's not poisoned by us. And then I think we got one more abyss, or maybe that was the last one. If that's the last abyss, I'll consider it donezo. Everything else would just kind of be like a repeat, you know? Nothing too much else to be said. You've seen what it's like. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you saw something that you may want to try out in one of your builds, or feel a little more confident. Sorry, feel a little more confident in your crazy ideas or your off the beaten path ideas. It is a game after all, and I hope that's how you think of it, right? You're here to have fun. You're here to do things differently. You're here to maybe beat the game, you know, right? There's so many different perspectives that you can take. You could be competitive, you could be casual. It doesn't really matter, but it's not even really what the video is about at the end of the day. I just wanted to show you my character, and yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Um, Stop by stream sometime. Peace.